Hello, this is Ed. This video is going to talk about something that Republicans have been making accusations about for some time. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm also not a Democrat or a Harris or Obama supporter as well. I more so support people. I want to talk about weaponization of the federal government. Many on the left or liberals have discounted this as some form of bullshit from Donald Trump and the Republicans, and this isn't the case. As a matter of fact, we should understand that weaponization of the federal government has been going on for a very long time. Every day, every month, every year, every decade, there are thousands of people that are being railroaded by the Department of Justice, agencies like the FBI, and onward. This is nothing new. This is something that a lot of people have known for some time, but it's become so politicized. Many so-called liberals or leftists automatically assume that it is bullshit. But I'm going to focus more on the liberals on this aspect when it comes to this actual situation. 4 years ago, and actually a little bit more than 4 years ago, liberals were consistently talking about how the Department of Justice was corrupt, how it was going against Black and brown people, it was causing harm, irreparable harm. But 4 years later, or even before this 4 years, within 2 years in, there was absolute support for the Department of Justice. I think this is because Democrats didn't want to take a chance of exposing or saying that the Department of Justice was corrupt while they were trying to prosecute Donald Trump with the Department of Justice and state governments as well, state courts. The weaponization of the federal government affects Black people, brown people, white people, people on the left, the right, the center, and everywhere. When you get into the Department of Justice and you're in that courtroom, you are nothing but a number. And with that number, you have to deal with a prosecutor that is going to withhold information that could help you in your case. You're going to deal with a prosecutor that is going to overcharge you. They're not going to give you the opportunity to explain yourself. Or like in my situation, they hid information stating that the informant threatened me, my family, and other people as well. And they also even hid the false flag assassination plot on Phil Weiser and Gretchen Whitmer. Weaponization of the federal government doesn't just affect people in a court, it affects people everywhere. Weaponization of the federal government means hiding information that could help citizens defend themselves, or hiding information that citizens that aren't even involved with illegal situations should know. The people should know that the federal government, primarily the Department of Justice and agencies like the FBI, are withholding information. They're creating violence and holding the truth about that violence. Weaponization happens back to the individual or the family when a person is put in prison for decades, all while a prosecutor might actually know the truth, which would actually set that person free. Weaponization of the federal government, especially from the Department of Justice or any other courts, comes when a prosecutor will hold that information from you. That's weaponization. The fact that you will never see prosecutors really get charged for prosecutorial misconduct, it's very seldom. That's weaponization, when they can't hold their own accountable. That's weaponization. When a prosecutor can put someone in prison for decades while they sit on the truth, just because you're a number and they need to add those numbers up. Weaponization is from a judge at times, and many times, giving you the max sentence possible when they can be lenient, or just doing as the prosecutors say. That's weaponization. Anytime the federal government reigns supreme power over an individual or individuals, groups of people, stopping them from defending themselves, that's weaponization. Weaponization happens to everyone. Doesn't matter what color you are. Yes, it might happen to some of us more than others, but it's the fact that it is happening. Weaponization of the federal government is spying by the FBI, warrantless wiretapping. It doesn't matter if Section 702 allows them to do that. That's Section 702 of the Patriot Act. They can't hold themselves accountable, so who are they to hold us accountable? Weaponization of the federal government is when you're being investigated and you don't even know, for nothing. Weaponization is when when you have things taken from you from civil asset forfeiture. That is weaponization of the federal government and state governments. Weaponization is real. And just because Trump and the Republicans say it doesn't mean it's not true. They are spot on. I think a lot of other people realize this as well, but they're terrified to say anything. Weaponization is real, and it's a bigger threat to us than Iran. It's a bigger threat to us than China, bigger threat than North Korea. Our own federal government, the weaponization of it, is a bigger threat to us than we could ever imagine. A far greater threat than those countries I mentioned. Weaponization of the federal government is when you create fires in cities, like in 2020, creating violence, invading, causing actual attacks on police departments, the federal government doing that and withholding that information via prosecutors, judges, and law enforcement. Weaponization is attacking conservatives as well. Conservative Catholic churches that have been targeted for the past few years or even longer. Weaponization is against the left and the right. And as long as we keep thinking left and right, weaponization will continue. The greatest threat to all of us, our left-wing movements, our right-wing movements, our independent movements, is a weaponized federal government that doesn't care if you're left or right. It doesn't care if you're black or white. It only cares about processing you as a number to continue this shitty business. Much love.